we've been waiting a long time for this. The new Earl Sweatshirt album came out today. I don't even know what to say really, because when Doris came out way back in the day, and I heard Doris first, I didn't hear Earl until after I heard Doris, and I don't really relate with Earl, which makes sense because no one relates with Earl really. It's just kind of a coming out party for his like rap ability. But like when I heard Doris, it was just the right balance of like MF Doom type, just rhyming for the sake of rhyming, mixed with some really deep stuff. And I fucking loved that album, and I played it so much. And my favorite Tyler album is the first one too. So I'm on that like first albums for me, and for me like Doris is his first album. Earl is something that just happened. It's not like Earl is not deep. Earl is very good too. Earl is second for me, but Doris is first. And when Doris came out, I was like, oh shit, this is really good. And that's when like Earl became my favorite rapper. And he's like every rap nerd's favorite rapper, so this isn't like a super marginal opinion or anything. Maybe back in 2012 it might have been, when he was talking about like digging bodies up and like eating them with mustard or whatever the fuck. But I think like nowadays it's pretty mainstream idea to say that Earl is your favorite rapper. And this really kind of came to a fine point when I went to this Earl concert in 2015, and it was like put on by my university, so all the people there were university students, and I did not expect anyone to give a fuck about Earl. He wasn't even the main event. He was like the act that came on before the headliner, and the biggest crowd was there for Earl. And I think this kind of underscores this like movement of recently that's like the most mainstream thing is like too basic a favorite opinion to hold. Like it's too easy to have that opinion, so everyone just considers it the go-to option to pick the thing just below. And that's why I think Kendrick Lamar is so popular, because if you're like any like very mainstream rap fan, your favorite artist is going to be Drake. Drake is going to be number one. But if you know even a little bit, you're going to be like, fuck Drake, he's too mainstream. Who else can I pick? And then you fall to Kendrick Lamar. That's like your next basic choice. And then there's people who like, refresh r/hip hop heads 30 times a day. And those people love Earl and all these other weird rappers. So Earl, me liking Earl back in the day was like super important to my idea of who I was as a person. And since then, in 2015, when I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside came out, it changed a little bit, because he's publicly said he was super depressed when he made that album. And you can see it just looking at it, how depressed he was. Like songs like Grief, for example, that shit is insanely depressing. And that took him to a whole nother level, because no one is depressed like a 19, 20-year-old is depressed. That's like the peak of your depression. The peak of your powerlessness in society is like around that time, when you no longer have the support of your parents completely, and you don't know how to fend for yourself in the world, and you're kind of stuck in the middle. And that's when your powerlessness peaks, and that's when you're most depressed, and that's when a whole generation of 19, 20-year-olds, which I was also at the time, 19, kind of gravitated towards this message of like, oh fuck, I don't like shit, I don't go outside, I just sit at home, I listen to hip hop. It's the music fan we're talking about. So there's that. And at first I loved it. At first I was at almost like just above rock bottom when that album came out, and I fucking loved it, and it was amazing. And I would just like sit in self-pity, just being depressed, listening to this album, and it was great. But then I for some reason didn't listen to it for a couple months, and only got back to it around like 2015 Christmas time. And I completely hated it. I did not like it at all. I didn't like any part of it. It was too grungy. I didn't like the lyrics. I didn't like anything. And then, a couple 6 months, 7 months later, I went back to it again. And I loved it again. And it was because my mind state was changing. Every time I was down, I wanted to listen to music that was super down, and I liked it. But I wasn't aware of this process at all. And it's not even like one day I could be down and I'd listen to this album. I would have to be a couple months into a deep kind of like hopelessness or like some shallow level of depression for me to appreciate this album at all. And then after that, I've never been in that mind state really since 2015 or maybe 2016 summer. And I can't go back to that album at all because it brings back memories of the times when I was super down or super depressed. But I can still go back to Doris because Doris isn't that depressed. Doris is about him finally being back, and it's kind of victorious in a way, is Doris, because he's finally back from the camp that his mom sent him to, and like he's an adult in some respects, but he's not fully an adult. That's why he still has those songs that kind of are just about normal rap shit, but he still has other songs that are super deep, and it just strikes that right balance. And that was the first two. So what is it about some rap songs? Well, I think there's been a little bit of a departure here. A departure from Doris. And this is a departure that I kind of saw on I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside. And the departure is he's on a different path. Like, I listened to a bunch of interviews where he talks about how for some songs on I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside, he didn't even write anything down, or he didn't have to. The lyrics just came to head, a la Jay-Z. And he said he did a lot of his own production on that album. And I'm not saying he's a bad producer. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the album is limited in a way. Or you could even, some people would say focused. To me, it sounds limited. It's limited in that he's a producer, but he's not nearly as good a producer as he is a rapper. So when he rhymes over his own production, all you really get is like a narrow window into his lyrical ability. And I think that's kind of been reinforced on some rap songs. That isn't even really a super deep look into it, because I think it's very clear where the influence comes from. It's all the beats, I don't want to say, they sound kind of like, if you go into YouTube and type in J Dilla beats, this sounds like what would come up. And obviously, I haven't looked into any of this, but this is just my off-the-top assumption, as usual, is that, or I know he did a lot of the production himself, and he was obviously very. When one of the tracks came on, I was like, "Is this Mad Villainy?" It just sounds very MF, like Mad Villainy type, Mad Lib production, and then J Dilla, except those guys are producers. That's what they do. And Earl's obviously not. But I don't think that's the only reason I didn't like this album. I think it has something to do with the mind state as well. I think also that he didn't go into the lyrical show-offery as much. He went more for the feels, and the feels are great. And he is like 2 years older than me, but I just think I'm not in the same mindset that he is. And that's perfectly fine. Kind of disappointed in myself that this album didn't vibe with me more than anything else. I don't know what I'm gonna do from here for music now that I can't listen to Earl anymore. Just bump Doris again. Still fucking love that album. So yeah, I'm disappointed in myself more than anything. But yeah, new album. I'm pretty sure I know who'll like it. Same people who liked the last one. Same age as people who like the last one. Good job, bro.